troops, Harry Veteran Dave here, on my own once again. Myself and Harry Veteran Mike will be together next month in November when we do our annual pilgrimage to the Cenotaph in London. But for now, I thought I'd take advantage of this beautiful morning. As you can see, that beautiful sunrise behind me, and get out and do another hike. I'm hiking from Leigh-on-Sea this morning, following the creeks down to a place called Benfleet in Essex. And what's interesting about Benfleet is there was a small battle there in the year of 892, probably a skirmish in today's standards, but it's some interesting history all the same. Once I get there, I'm going to cross the train tracks and head back to Leigh via the wooded hills in Hadleigh Castle. Another interesting piece of history to look at, and you might just be able to see Hadleigh Castle up in the hills behind me in the distance there, and then we'll have a closer look at that later on. So just making my way down to Benfleet now. You can probably see the creeks and marshes behind me there, and to understand the Battle of 892, we need to know a little bit about what was going on at the time in England. And I say England, there was no England then. So there were 4 Anglo-Saxon kingdoms at that time: Wessex, Mercia, East Anglia and Northumbria. The King of Wessex, probably someone you've heard of before, Alfred the Great, and he was a devout Christian, and he had a dream to unite those 4 kingdoms under one religion, one language, a united kingdom under one king, and that would be England. Something that he never managed to achieve in his lifetime, but he certainly put the mechanisms in place for that to happen. Now, the Anglo-Saxons under Alfred the Great, around that time, had done many battles, negotiations, peace treaties with the Danes and the Vikings, and no matter how many peace treaties there were, it always ended up in battle, such as the Battle of 892, which we will talk about as we get down towards Benfleet. Well, I didn't expect to meet these ladies on my hike this morning. At least I hope they're all ladies, and there's no balls hiding between them. There we go. They don't seem bothered by my presence whatsoever. Morning, ladies. Hi, troops. I'm now in Benfleet, or Benfleet as it would have been known back in the year 892, which meant water and wood, which is very fitting because there's lots of creeks here coming off the Thames estuary, and to the north would have been thick forest leading up into the hills of Hadleigh. And back in the time that we're talking about, there was a Danish camp here, and that Danish camp was led by a chap called Hadleigh, who not only had his small army there in the camp, but also women and children. The Anglo-Saxon army was led by Edward the Elder, who was the son of King Alfred, later to become king, and Lord Ethelfled, who was Lord of Mercia and the son-in-law of King Alfred. And they led a band of Anglo-Saxon soldiers believed to be down the hills under the cover of the forest from Hadleigh down into the Danish camp in 892. Now, Haston didn't know anything about this attack, didn't have any intelligence that it was coming, and himself and most of his warriors were actually out raiding and foraging that day, so it was a relatively easy victory for the Anglo-Saxons. A lot of the Viking men that were in the camp fled down to Shoebury, where there was another Viking camp, but some men were killed and most of the women and children were captured by the Anglo-Saxon forces. They were later released by King Alfred. Like I said, he was a very religious man. It's not known the precise location of where the Viking camp was, but back in 1855 there were skeletal remains and remains of burnt ships found in the creek in this area, and also when they built Benfleet train station, again parts of burnt ships were found and some skeletal remains. So it's believed that the Danish camp was probably in the area where Benfleet station or its car park was, and right on the doorstep is the creek there where the Viking ships would have been moored up, and they were mostly destroyed and burnt by the Anglo-Saxons. Yeah, so another fascinating little bit of history, very local to me. There was actually a memorial stone laid just a few years ago to commemorate the battle here, so I'm going to have a little walk and see if I can find it. There we have the stone commemorating the battle, laid 2006 I believe, not sure on that, I'll have to double check. But yeah, quite a nice touch I believe. And I think we should leave our mark to remember our history, should never be forgotten. Right, I'm going to crack on and walk up to Hadleigh Castle. Hi troops, I'm now at Hadleigh Castle, built between 1215 and 1239 by a chap called Hubert de Burgh, who was the Earl of Kent. The land here was gifted to him by King John. However, not long after the castle was built in 1239, and after a quarrel with King Henry III, the land and the castle was taken back into the Crown Estates. In fact, Hadleigh Castle became a favourite retreat of King Edward III in the 14th century, and it's not hard to see why. This area would have been surrounded by forests and rich hunting grounds, and just look at the view over my shoulder down into the Thames estuary and right away along over into Kent. The views here are absolutely breathtaking. Well, that concludes my hiking into history hike for today. I hope you enjoyed listening to a little bit of history. Thanks for joining me. Got a couple of miles now to walk down to my start point. Should have completed about 9 miles today. For now, HV Dave out.